Welcome to the CHYE in partnership with COL Live K-Factor podcast with your host, Rabbi Yehoshua Wordy, Director of CHYE. Each week we bring you interviews with amazing Jewish entrepreneurs sharing their challenges and successes. Their stories will inspire you to make the Keli to take your business aspirations to the next level. Welcome back, everybody, to another exciting week of the CHYE K-Factor podcast. This week I'm sitting here with one of Crown Heights' original entrepreneurs, a really special man who actually was at the very first, he likes going to business events, and he came to the very first CHY event in 2007, or was it 2006? Our first event was right here at the CHY headquarters and workspace on Empire Boulevard. We had Dudi Farkash, and the event was called Think Big, and it was our very first time we did something here. We had a great crowd, and there he was, Mendy Lipsker came to the event.
Yes, I remember it.
And so welcome to the K-Factor podcast.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure and an honor, and timing-wise, we chose this time to interview you because it's just ahead of our big real estate event, and I wanted people to hear from somebody who's deep in the real estate industry. But before we get to your real estate life, I want to, in our classic style, I want to go all the way back in time. Let's talk a little bit about, the early days. You're quite the entrepreneur. You've been involved in many different businesses, and you have a tremendous amount of experience. So take us a little bit on that journey. How did you get into your first business? What was your first business? What lessons did you learn from being involved in that business?
Listen, way back when I was a kid, I used to sit in my class in Holy Torah and think. And they called it then daydreaming. But they didn't believe in people dreaming about a future and about being an entrepreneur, about making a change, influencing people. But that's what I used to do. Think, what do I want to be? I grew up in a house, actually. My father knew from a young age what he wants to be. And if I was born in China, I would probably be someone different. But since I was born in Crown Heights with these parents, so I knew my father, probably subconsciously, knew what he wanted to do. And I would think, what do I want to do? Many people are not fortunate to have that, really grow up in a place that people know what they want to do and have passion. What is passion,
Right.
So, and I felt what I wanted. I can't tell you why I felt that, but this is what I felt. I felt that I want to be a business person and sell and be able to make money. And exactly what that meant and how, I was too young to even really know. But really, whenever I had a chance to buy something, sell something, represent something, my natural being wanted to just be there. And I can remember in second grade, we had a Rabbi Prager, and he was selling raffle tickets for $0.25, and you would get a prize. We didn't get money, but he didn't give us commission. But if you brought an X amount of dollars, you would get that prize. And that's what I was interested in. I wasn't interested in what was going on in the class, really. So I would go out with the raffle tickets, and they come and they stick the raffle tickets in your face. You want to buy it for $0.25? I didn't have any experience and any training in sales. But I would just offer to people if they want to buy a raffle. And then some people, even family members, like, what are you doing? You're selling. And I knew this is what I like to do. It wasn't, they called me a schnorr then. Today, being a fundraiser is a very fine thing to do. But that's what I was doing. And I'm not going to say I enjoyed bringing in the money, like fundraising per se, but I was interested in selling something, my idea, to another person, and they're paying for it. That made me feel good, besides getting the reward of money. And then there were always different. I remember a story. Rachmiel Jacobson, he was a classmate of mine, and he's a known real estate person in Crown Heights, successful. And he would go to A&P, and this was already maybe in sixth grade, and he would buy the bottle of orange soda or a Sprite or whatever it was, and probably the whole bottle costed 99 cents. 69 cents. What kind of 99 cents? And he would sell each cup for a quarter, because if you go to the machine, I think it was 50 cents to buy. In the soda machine, fountain machine, it would come down, the cup would come down. And he would say, these were things were interesting to me. Maybe other kids or other teenagers or whatever weren't interested in that. But I was always thinking, how do you take something and make some money? And there were different things that I could recall. I was involved in multi-level marketing.
Right.
And I was very good in bringing people into the meetings, let's say, and to sell personally. But the downline, that part wasn't really working. And there were different MLMs. There was phone service, Sprint had one. And then there was one selling different vitamins that improved. But I was good at selling the product, but I wasn't good at managing the salespeople or working with the downline. For me, it didn't work. Mm. So I was always thinking, could you imagine if I found a business that pays you residual and you don't need a downline to be successful? However, some people have done it. They had the other salespeople and they grew their business. Mm-hmm. And that business was the merchant service company that I started in 1994, before anyone knew about merchant services or cash advances or whatever this was. Now, right before I was...
Just stop. You innovated that, or you jumped on...
This wasn't my idea, of course. Right. This business was a time that things were changing from paper trail to electronic. And even the printer wasn't a proper printer. They started first, there was a machine, and then they would have those knuckle buster machines for the receipt. Right. Before that, if you'd go and use your credit card, they would look you up in a book and see if that card is on the blacklist. Maybe each month or each quarter, they would come out with a bad card list, and the merchants would have that. But then once computers came in style, those things changed. Now, right before I got into the merchant service business, there were a number of businesses. I'm not going to get into all of them, but I started a business called dialer cleaners. That would be pick up and deliver clothing from people's houses, not just have a cleaning store. And we had no minimum order, and that we had a whole bunch of trucks in Borough Park and Crown Heights, Williamsburg, Flatbush. It would be easy to get people to, because people are busy, and they would give us the clothing to clean. But after a while, I realized that clothing, when they're moved around, they have a chance to get lost. Right. And that could be the most important outfit, and at the wrong time. Right. You know, the Murphy Law just kicks in, and they would say, we're having the wedding, and that's the outfit that's missing, or a bar mitzvah, or a special Shabbos that they're going away, whatever it is. Right. And I realized my business was based on pickup and delivery. The other problem was I didn't accept credit cards. This is before I was in the merchant service business. And what happens if you come to bring people their pants before Shabbos and the mom is not home? You're going to take away their clothing. You need to leave it for them. And then it became a discrepancy. Did I pay? Did I not pay? If I would have their credit card on file and didn't just charge their card as needed, then I wouldn't have that challenge. We could talk about those challenges later. Right. So when I went into the credit card merchant service business, even if you didn't have a car, which I'm not sure if I even owned a car then, maybe not, any subway station or any bus station that you would get off, you have clients. No one had electronic processing. It was like an open football field, all yours, a child in a candy store. You could just sign up customers like crazy. Mm. And I was at the right place at the right time, and I knew I was at the right place at the right time. Mm-hmm. Thank God I was blessed. Now, other people went into the business, and they did way better than me, and I'm happy for them, and I forgive them, whatever you want to call the word. Right. But for myself, what I wanted, I did very well. And up to today, this is 25 years later, I'm still getting residuals, and people would be very happy to get a nice passive income check many years later when they started a business. Right. I still have my office open, but I don't actively go looking for new merchants. But if people have certain challenges, I'm very good at helping them out. And they still come and I set up their accounts when they call me. But I don't pursue that at this time, you know. Now, before you ask me, I'm going to help you.
Okay.
What happened? How did I end up in real estate?
So before you jump into the story of real estate, so I'm talking going back to your merchant services business. Maybe some lessons learned from that, in the sense of like what.
So let me tell you a lesson that I learned in life. When I was doing my small fundraising gig, and people criticized me for doing that, and I said, "This is what I want to do, and I don't really care what you're going to say." But it sort of put a damper on what I was doing.
Right.
And I realized that people are going to criticize what you're doing, and then you have to just go after your dreams if you want to do it.
Right.
This is one thing that happened. Now, from one side, my father, Olav Shalom, he was an innovator in what he's doing, but he wasn't a business person.
Right.
So if I would want to talk to him about an idea, he would tell me everything that could go wrong, which I like that, and then I would say how I could make it better. And when I succeeded at it, he told me, "Bravo, very good, I'm happy for you." He said, "I'm just telling you what I see, and so you should just basically to help me out, so I shouldn't lose money or get hurt. You know,
Right.
That would be normal to help your kid out." And this is what he knew. But in his business, he knew well what he's doing.
Right.
So why am I saying that? I was in yeshiva, and there was the bus company that would take people to Montreal. I was in yeshiva in Montreal.
Right.
And someone needs to be in charge of the buses. Instead of yeshiva having the headache, they gave it to a bacher to run.
Right.
And they gave it to me to run. And I told my father, "Hey, I'm doing this business." I was then probably about 16 years old.
Right.
And right away, my father would put the damper on this plan here.
Right.
And I backed off, and I didn't do it. I gave it to some other friend to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I said, "Never again.
Mm-hmm.
If there's a good opportunity,
Right.
I'm going to do it." There was no reason why I shouldn't do it. It was
Right.
a no-brainer, you know?
Right.
And I listened to what... He has a right to think what he's thinking.
Right.
But I have a right to think what I'm thinking. And I need to do... If you want to be an entrepreneur, rule number one, don't listen to other people. You could hear advice, but if you have this feeling, you can't even explain it, this change or this kind of thing that you could do.
Right.
You can't listen to people and hear what they're going to tell you, even if they're your loved ones.
Right.
Because if it's time for you to take action, you got to take action, or else you're not the entrepreneur. You'll call yourself something else. So since then, whenever there was a good opportunity, even if I would share it with other people, I would hear from one side what they say, because you have to learn, you have to be smart, and think about people around you. But at the end of the day, you're the person who has to jump in and take action. And whoever knows me since then, whenever there's a right opportunity. And then I feel sometimes everything has a shelf life. And if I think this thing has had its run, I have no problem in my personality to change. And someone's going to say, "Now you're doing this." When I'm an entrepreneur, I'm going to do what I feel is the right thing for me to do at the moment, as long as it's legal and ethical. And I'll change the path, and I could do it, and I could jump into it and stay focused on the new thing. So this is what brings me to where I am, sort of, when I saw the real estate, the credit card processing company. By the way, I never did the cash advance because I never connected to that part of the business. Even some people make a lot of money until today in it. But I didn't feel I was a customer service relationship guy. And I didn't feel, for me, that's a way to build relationships. Mm-hmm. So I didn't do it. It could be a good move or bad move, but for me it didn't work. So I didn't get into that part of the business. Mm. So, because the regular processing business became very difficult. First they were giving away machines and giving away low rates. And there was no way to make the margins that I made before. So I had a friend, and this friend was a client. I would have good relationships with my customers, and they would tell me what's going on and new things that are going on in the market and new businesses, and I was always interested in that. I still am. So when this guy who was an auto mechanic, he says, I'm investing in Philadelphia, come, let's do some business. And he told me he would go every Thursday to Philly and invest over there. So I was getting very good residual, so I was able to afford to take one day a week to invest in something new, in case this thing goes down.
Right.
I'm got my foot in something new. And real estate, I always knew. By the way, I didn't go into real estate many years ago. Also, listening to people who said it's not a good thing to do. You only could do a few sales a year, but not knowing those few sales a year can be way more than people's 1,000 sales on whatever, or
right.
thousands on Amazon, whatever they are. So I didn't get into real estate because I had interest in it, but I never really did it. I once mentioned this by one of your events here when I was asked to speak or to share some thoughts, and the whole real estate idea that became stronger. One night, my wife was watching the late night TV show. They hooked up to the video, the antenna, and she was watching some TV, and there was one of those infomercials, and it was a guy, his name was Carson, I forgot his first name, and he was telling people how to get rich in real estate, and he was selling the course, 30 days, money-back guarantee, and this and that, and my wife says she's ordering it. I said, why are you ordering it? She said, it's 30 days money-back guarantee. She said, she'll be responsible to return it. I said, no, you won't. She said, yes, I will. But I was right. So she ordered the course, and she did not return it. So I was stuck with the I don't remember if it was CDs or cassettes at the time. Maybe it was CDs already. And when I was in my car, since I had it already, I would listen to these ideas. A lot of them are very good ideas, but they come with certain strings attached. You have to understand, and you have to be able to actually be an entrepreneur and be innovative to take those ideas and make them work. So most people say, this won't work. And negative people, they'll listen to those CDs and they'll tell you why it can't work. If I'm not mistaken, he even had lawsuits, people saying that what he promised is not true. Part of it is true, and part of it is hype. That's how life is. So I would listen to these ideas and say, this is something that I could buy real estate with no money down. Sure, there's no such thing, no money. It's somebody's money. The question is, whose money is it? So what happened was I kept the CDs and I listened to them over and over while I was in the car because that's what I was interested in. And when my friend said, come invest in Philadelphia and he could help me buy properties, sure, how did I buy properties? I bought my house for much less money than the equity my house was at that moment. And the banks were giving money very easily. So they gave me a line of credit on top of my mortgage. And I took the line of credit and I purchased. It was against the way I'm thinking because I'm not into maximizing the equity in your house. But the plan was to buy a property, and once I buy the property, I would refinance that property and pay back my property, which I did. And that plan worked very well. I would buy one property after the other, and once I would get the thing approved, I would go to the bank and say, I own this property. And when you own it and you're not buying it, they were more eager to give you the money because now you're ready. You don't need them that much. They need you more. And then I would take the money and pay back the equity in my house and go for another round. And once the bank stopped, I would only do one property at a time, so I won't. If something bad happens, I'm very careful the way I do things. So they didn't want to give money anymore, so I had that credit line against my house, and I could pay it but I couldn't really cash that out, Until many years later, I was able to pay that off. not many, whatever the payments were coming out, and I was paying down this credit line. So I decided, let me see, maybe I could do something in New York. We decided to open a real estate office in New York. That was maybe in 06 when the chips were down for everybody. And for me, it was nothing because I had my credit card merchant business. I had my residual coming in. It was just, hey, what am I doing next? And so we opened this office, and I did my first deal in New York. And once I did my first deal in New York, I realized I could buy the whole block in Philly. So I'm not going to continue schlepping out to Philly. I realized this is the place that it's time for me to change the way I'm doing it and only do brokering in New York and then slowly getting into investing, because it's much harder to invest in New York. You need more money.
Right.
So then I would take my commissions and reinvest that. But I want you to ask me some more questions so the listeners could get a little bit more of what's going on.
So just from this is like a 101 type of thing. Since you've been involved in both sides, the investment side and the broker side, talk a little bit, educate people. First, what's it like to be a broker? What's it like to be an investor? Give a little foretaste.
Now, first of all, being a broker gives you certain limitations ethically in the real estate business. When you're doing a deal, you must tell the person, you must disclose to them that you're a real estate broker. And some people, it scares them away. Now, the other thing is when people are doing offers on houses and certain things brokers can't do. Like there's something about the New York State door knocking, even though people do it. It's not something you're allowed to do. If you're an investor, you could do whatever you want. But as a broker, there's certain rules that work against you. So, but then there's the other side of it. If there's not a property you really want to buy, and you want to be a broker, you take out the broker cap, and you're right there, and you're protected by being a broker. And if you're getting paid from a buyer, that's really not really guaranteed, because once the thing is closed, if they don't pay you, there's not much you could do. When you're getting paid from the seller, it's in the contract, it's in the paperwork, in the HUD, whatever they call it, the report of the, and the taxes are getting paid, the insurance are getting paid, and you're getting paid because you're on that list of people who have to get paid in order for this deal to close. Mm-hmm. So you're secure that way to get paid. And if you're not a licensed agent or broker, there's no guarantee. Hopefully, most people I found to be really nice and honest. But there's, a few interesting people out there, and you want to play it safe. So if you plan to be a broker, to get commission, you got to be licensed. First of all, legally, you got to do that. But besides that, that's something that you can't be guaranteed to get paid at the closing if your name is not in there.
But let's take this just a little further. Just for those people that are listening, they're maybe like, maybe I want to become a broker. Maybe there's so much right now. There's so much activity that's going on here, especially in the New York area. There's so many people that are going into brokerage. What's it like, the life of a broker? Like, what on a daily basis? What goes on? What does a person have to know? You have to scout properties. You have to tell a little bit of like a 101.
On my website, I didn't prepare myself for that question here, so I don't have it here. But basically, you have to be interested in calling strangers and talking to them. And you got to stay motivated and interesting. And if you're having a bad day and you're going to sound that way on the phone, no one's going to want to talk to you. You got to leave your problems at home. So I'm very good at that in sales, and sometimes my family members laugh at it. Sometimes something stressful is happening in my house or at anyone's house, and then the phone rings, and I pick up the phone and I change my tone, and the person out there would have no idea that 2 minutes ago. I was under a total different environment.
What would you say are the key skills a person has to have to be a successful broker?
You have to be good at networking. You have to keep contacts. I've been always very good at it in any business I was. In fact, contacts from a previous business could help you so much in real estate because everyone needs real estate. Everyone's living in real estate. Whether you're doing rentals or you're doing sales, no one's living on the street, hopefully, right? No matter if it's a government building, they use real estate. A school uses real estate. The nonprofit, everyone uses real estate. If you have an office, it's real estate. If you go to the gym, it's real estate. I'm going to go to the list is going to go on and boring. But everyone uses real estate. And you have to figure out and be creative. The creativity part is a big thing. How are you going to, when a property comes up, what could we do with this property? When a person approaches you, they want to buy a property, whether it's a residential house that they want to live in, whether it's an investor, or whether it's some kind of facility, commercial building that they're looking for because they want to run their business or organization or idea, whatever it is. How can you make it work? You have to have a good way to have a good memory and really keep in touch with people. And I sit the whole day and I'm probably sit on the phone for 4 hours a day calling people. Some of them people I know. And part of the people I call are new people that I did not speak to before. And then some of them are going to ask, how did you call me? How did you find my number? Like, the first thing, like, they have this question and this, like, I'm trying to explain the word, this distance for me, like, who are you? And once I explain to them, I'm in the real estate business, and I call many people I know, and now I'm calling many people I don't know. I want to speak to you about real estate. Are you interested in buying or selling or investing or whatever the story is? Or if they're a broker or agent that I'm trying to do some kind of deal and I'm introducing myself. Many times they're strangers. And they like that I'm reaching out to them and talking to them once I explain to them really what I'm doing and why. And if it's not someone who wants to speak to me and they don't want to, I won't call them again and I'll just delete them, obviously. But if it's someone who is not willing to do business now, then I'm going to follow up with them, So you have to be willing to. I have a certain system that I use, but that's not. Everyone has their own way of doing it. That doesn't,
Right.
There's no one size fits all. Everyone has to use their own style. But you need to be willing to talk to people, willing to meet people. When you're making those phone calls to make those appointments, to get those deals together, right? And hopefully that they're going to be approved. And if it's a cash deal, you got a way better chance of it working out. But it's also not guaranteed. And also, when the deals don't work out, if you're going to be a crybaby, then you can't be in the real estate business.
Right.
You're going to start counting your money, especially at the beginning. Wow, this is working out. I'm making this great deal. And you have to be able to just move on like it was just like a fly who passed by your room. And you're going to your next thing.
Right.
And if you're going to get your day ruined because it might take you a couple of weeks to recuperate, you can't go there. You have to be able to, if you're a sensitive person, which it's okay for you to be, you got to build that elephant skin that when you are in your real estate cap, you don't fold like a cheap camera. You got to fight for the deal, fight for your client. And actually, they're going to like it. The people you're working with, they're going to like it that you're fighting for your client's rights. Isn't that my job? That's why you hired me. And again, you're not supposed to be dishonest or disloyal. I'm not into that, either one. And some people are, and it works for them very good. But I like to be straight up. And some people can't handle that either. Because, if it's not something I want to do or I could do, or I don't think it's going to work, I'm going to let the people know, how I feel.
Jumping from the other angle now, just very, very briefly, let's touch on this. So people that are interested in getting into investing in real estate, first timers, early stagers, what would you say is a good strategy nowadays? For people that they're like, hey, I want to get into a first property or something. What should they think about nowadays?
Okay. First of all, real estate is like being a doctor. You got to know or understand what you want to do in real estate. All right? Today you could buy properties, and if you want to do home rentals, Airbnb, do you want to be part of real estate that you buy multifamilies and rent it out? Do you want to? What kind of returns do you want to get on your money? Let's say in New York, you don't have a very good cap rate. That is the return you get on your investment in New York. However, the properties go up much faster and quicker than out of town. Now, a lot of people are going out of town and they don't care about it because they want to have this cow that brings them milk, They're going to buy a property. It's going to give them maybe 15, 18, 20, whatever percentage they're working on. In New York, if you get 4, 5, 6%, you're doing good. And with the rate of inflation, we're not going very far with that. But the equity on the property, that's amazing. You're not going to find it anywhere. And I like that better. And many people are investing out of town, and they're getting much higher returns. They're going to go to Philly. They're going to go to Connecticut. There's many places that people go out of town. There's a lot of places that are legit, a lot of places that are not legit. You got to try to be smart enough to figure that out, and that is your job as an entrepreneur, to figure out what works and what doesn't, because what didn't work for one person could work for another person. So there's no rule out there.
Share with us, what was a challenge you went through and how did you navigate it?
I'm going to tell you that when I ever went into a new business, if I couldn't really get people to buy into this business right away, that I didn't feel this is a mazel or bracha or something for me to do. Mm-hmm. That was my own feeling. Maybe people do business, use a different way of figuring out if it's for them. So when I hopped into the real estate business, right away I was knocking it out of the stadium. But I knew the problem was going to come soon, right? And what happens is in the real estate business, especially if you're a broker, if you don't have passive income, if you're a real estate investor, you're going to have money coming in. You can have different challenges. That you invest in a property and it didn't. If you're a developer, the project didn't finish, and you're choked for money one day. And the biggest investors out there have been through that, and they know what the story is all about. But let's say you're a real estate broker or investor. You're waiting from one deal to the next deal that you don't starve to death. If you can't last that difficult challenge, or you start talking negative talk to yourself and saying, hey, this business doesn't work, it's just dumb business, or I'm dumb and it doesn't work for me. Anything like that doesn't work, and it's not going to make things happen. If this is for you, you got to go do or die. You got to go for the fight to the end. And if you can't feel that, you can't really survive in real estate, because real estate is a very difficult. You're going to have those dry moments from one deal to the next, and you could plot, and then all of a sudden, many deals just come in together, and then you go through the next cycle. Right. The idea is to come to the point that you could withstand your difficult times.
What's a business strategy that worked well for you that you'd want to share with people? Like, some sort of smart tip, something to help people. And
there was something that I did a number of times that it works, When you're negotiating, right? You're the broker. So you have to help the buyer and seller negotiate. And 1 second, you got to get paid, right? In that deal, your money is wrapped in there. So you're negotiating your own commission. Because when you're dealing with a when the property becomes like very tight margins, say 1 second, the buyer agrees, the seller agrees, but we got no room for your commission. You have to know how to be smart about that. Or they say, you know what, broker, you want your client to get a discount, take it off of your commission. They'll tell you, investors or sellers, they'll tell you very well how to do this. So this is something that I did many times, and it worked. And I'm happy if people could use that strategy. It's a win-win situation. No one likes to lose commission, or sellers don't like to get less, and buyers don't want to pay more than they expect to pay. So everyone is not happy, but you have to make it work. So the way I would make it work, I said, I have a good idea. Let's take this difference. Sometimes it's even a petty amount, really. Let's say it's this $10,000. Let's split it 3 ways. I'm not going to take it off my commission, but I'm willing to take a third. If Mr. Buyer or Mr. Seller wants to take a third, then we each take our little... It sounds like the King Solomon story, but it really works. And everyone takes a little piece off, and no one feels that they got... Because it's really some kind of dignity and some kind of ego, or whatever you want to call it. I'm going to go down to the price, and everyone gives a little bit. Mm-hmm. And you have to bring that attitude, you have to bring that vibe there. And if you bring it in, everyone say, okay, we'll take a few dollars off and we'll make it. And these people, they never forget what I did. Because some kind of stupid reason, the whole deal could just fall apart. And we're already all there.
Right. Nice. Very nice. Is there a particular story of Kiddush Hashem that happened to you throughout the years in business that you're proud of?
In real estate, Kiddush Hashem.
Real estate or whatever business you were involved in sometime, something that happened.
I'm going to tell you stuff that I did, and I'm sure many people, if they're Lubavitch Chassid and they out there in business. So there was this merchant company that I was working with in New York City, in Manhattan, right? And once when I was there for a joke, I told them, hey, you want to put on tefillin? There was like 8, 9 Yidden working there. And then they said, you know what, okay, come Friday, whatever, we're going to put tefillin on. And then that turned in to a ritual. I would come every Friday. I'd even come with my kids on Friday. And even on the short Fridays, I would come early and do it quick and run home mamish before Shkia. And to make sure everyone, even now once in a while I go to this company and I put on tefillin with them. But I did it for many years. They would put on tefillin every week. And the Goyim wanted to do something, so I said, you give some charity or whatever, So they felt part of something. There's a certain halacha about Goyim giving tzedakah, but I'm not going to go into that. But I let them feel something, But that wasn't the story. The story was when these guys that I put on tefillin, they were so proud of it. When Cuba opened up and started allowing American businessmen to come to Cuba. Some of these guys were from the first group that went to Cuba. And right when they arrived to the airport, they put on tefillin on the airport.
Oh, yeah.
And they took pictures and they put it on social media. And I felt there was a residual effect that I had from the tefillin that we put on every Friday, clearly,
That's beautiful. Is there a particular business book that you ever read that you recommend people to read?
Think and Grow Rich.
By Napoleon Hill.
Yes. That's my Bible.
Okay. Is there any particular person in business that you look up to? Do you have a mentor, or is there someone that it's like you looked up to and aspired to in business?
There are many people out there that I have looked up to, but really what I would like to say, there was not a person, but there was an idea what I looked up to. I like to see an entrepreneur, not that has fallen, but has made a comeback. And I would look up, and I have the greatest admiration for the number ones, in Lubavitch or in the world, or Goyim, Lahavdil, whatever you want to say. That, again, Donald Trump, he's one of the examples. He lost everything and then he made a comeback. Because if you're an entrepreneur in your mind, you could make that comeback. And this is what I fight to become. No matter what your challenge is, you could always make that comeback.
Yes. So now I noticed you've become you've become very specialized in your real estate. As opposed to being a broker all over the place, you've come to represent a particular neighborhood, as opposed to being very broad. Is there a particular reason that you chose to become so narrow in your focus like that?
Listen, I always speak to many different business people and different mentors and learn from them, not one, but learn from different people, different things. And at one point, I was speaking to a friend, and he was on this group. They used to speak together. It was some kind of, what would we mention that?
Mastermind.
A mastermind group that they had. It was people all over the country, and they would do it on video and whatever. And there's one person on this group in real estate, and he said he could introduce me to him, and we could have a call one day and speak to him about ideas. What makes him special or unique, or what is his niche in his business. And he explained to me a point that you have to specialize in something. You can't be everything to everyone, which I knew that. So this guy was in Michigan, and all he did was properties, waterfront properties. He said, I'm not telling you to do waterfront properties, but I'm telling you, you got to figure out where most of your clients are coming from, where's the fat of your business, and say, hey, this is something I'm going to specialize in. And I took that idea and I figured out I was born, bred, and raised in Crown Heights, and I know every corner of this neighborhood. And I'm going to focus on Crown Heights and East Flatbush. It does have it's a tough market, but when I pick up a property, it's very easy for me to, not very easy, but much easier than if I would just go in Bushwick or in East New York. Once I get a property, that's only part of the job.
Right.
Had to move the property. Either I want to invest in it, or who could be the right fit for it. If it's over here, I have a huge network of over 1,800 people, and it's usually with a few phone calls.
Right.
The property is interesting deal. Once I get the deal, it's easy to move.
Got it. So specialize and focus. The more experience you become in a particular thing, the stronger the value you have. So, a final thought like this. You have the gift now of long range. You've been in business for many, many years. Looking back, if there was one thing that you'd want to change, you had to go back in time and fix one thing. What would that one thing be?
If I was lucky enough to experience the real estate business many years ago, then I can't change it because this is where I am today.
Right.
But on the other hand, all these other businesses and these different things that I did developed to who I am, and all the contacts and all the everything. I don't think I would be the same without it. But definitely the real estate business. I'm also, you have to be very disciplined, which I try to be all the time, and work hard on that, and how I can be more disciplined. But I don't know if there's something like that I would change, but if I would know this business years ago, I would be in a way luckier. Meaning it's not, we all knew about real estate, but didn't know that was something that I could really do.
Right. All right. So this has been a wonderful conversation. For those of you that have been listening and you enjoyed hearing what Reb Mendel said, how could someone reach out to you?
they could reach me. The best way is by my cell phone, which is 646-662-5454. It's never private. You could call me anytime. And a very good way to communicate with me is through WhatsApp right now. Right now we're in 2018, and someone may listen to this in many years from now, and that would be change. But right now, this is what the technology shows, the emails and everything. And I'm a person, I like something short and sweet to the point, and all the complicated stuff is a distraction for me. So if you want to call me, if you have a question or you have a property you want to deal with, you could just in a few words, and we could. I'm a good decision maker. I'll tell you yes, no, maybe.
Okay, so, and for those of you listening, we've timed this particular we're now on the last day of April, in the middle of Chodesh Iyar, Tafshin Ayin Ches 2018. We have our very big real estate event coming up this week. Mirta Hashem, we have a tremendous amount of amazing talent coming to this event, and Baruch Hashem, we have Yidden coming from every major Jewish community. It's going to be a tremendous event, and we'd love to greet you there. If you would like to find out more about the event, go to our website, attendjcon, attendjcon.com, and check it out. Wishing all of you tremendous hatzlacha, Mechael, Elchael, and Reb Mendel, tremendous continued hatzlacha to you. Thank you for coming and sharing.
Thank you very much for having me. It's been a real pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the CHYE in partnership with COL Live K-Factor podcast with your host, Rabbi Yehoshua Wordy. We look forward to bringing you more amazing entrepreneurs to share their stories. See you next week.